ladies and gentlemen. As we've discussed, my company will take the contract for this project. I trust there are no objections. Remember, if you don't honor our agreement, you'll never be awarded a contract again, even if you make a bid. We'll be bidding 30 million yen.
Please stop.
So please bid accordingly.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? We're in a meeting. We're here from the Japan Fair Trade Commission, and we're here to conduct a search on suspicion of violation of Article 3 of the Anti-Monopoly Act with regards to bidding for government-sponsored maintenance contract number 105.
We often hear words like bid rigging and unfair trading in the news. Let's take bid rigging as an example. Normally, a contract is awarded to a company through a bid. Companies compete in terms of price and technology so that the most worthy competitor can be fairly selected. In a rigged bid, competitors consult each other and select the winner and price in advance. In sports, it would be like fixing a game by deciding on the winner and the loser in advance, or by unfairly setting a record through doping. It is only by following the rules to create fair and free competition that both individuals and society can grow, which will lead to dynamic economic development. In our society, consumers can purchase quality goods at reasonable prices as a result of fair and free competition among businesses. Companies are also able to grow through individual efforts, including technological development and better prices and services, which leads to overall economic growth. This is the most valuable aspect of fair and free market competition. In Japan, a law known as the Anti-Monopoly Act forms the foundation for all business activities. The Japan Fair Trade Commission is an administrative agency that uses this economic constitution to monitor illegal activities and protect fair and free market competition within the Japanese economy. The Anti-Monopoly Act and the Japan Fair Trade Commission. Put simply, the Anti-Monopoly Act is the basic rule for protecting fair and free competition, and the Japan Fair Trade Commission is the referee that enforces it. And now, let's take a look at how the Anti-Monopoly Act protects fair and free competition.
My company has just developed a new product. We'd like to price it at 100 yen. We'll enter the market and compete with other companies. With more competitors, my profits will drop. I know. Even though I'll lose money, I'll slash prices to 10 yen, which is much lower than cost, and force my competitors out of business. Once they're gone, I'll really raise my prices. More competition would be bad for me as well. I know. I'll acquire my rival's stock. I'll infiltrate the board of directors and control management to stop competition.
If a company prevents newcomers from entering the market to create a monopoly through means such as unjustly low prices, or controls the market by restricting the activities of other businesses by acquiring their stock and dispatching officers to that company, it is guilty of private monopolization. The monopolization of a market through such unjust means is prohibited under the Anti-Monopoly Act.
All right. Shall we raise the price of our products to, say, 50,000 yen?
Yes, and if we all sell at the same price, we won't have to compete with each other. We'll all make much more money this way.
So it's settled. My company will receive the next contract. So make sure you bid higher than we do.
Understood. But remember, this means that next time it will be my company's turn to receive the contract.
If businesses restrict competition by consulting with each other to determine sale price or volume, they are involved in what is called a cartel. If they eliminate competition by consulting with each other in advance to determine which of them will receive a contract and at what price in a public bid, they are guilty of bid rigging. Ultimately, it is consumers and taxpayers who suffer as a result of cartels and bid rigging. Companies are also adversely affected as they lose their creative impulse and their competitiveness. The Anti-Monopoly Act prohibits this kind of restriction on competition.
I want to start a new business. But what I need are raw materials to make my products. I can't have any more competition. I know. I'll put pressure on the raw material manufacturer that I deal with to stop selling to new companies. And if he does sell to any of them, I won't do business with him anymore.
Forcing a company to end transactions with newcomers, as the raw material manufacturer was forced to do, or unjustly refusing to deal with a certain company, is an illegal activity known as refusal to deal.
I'm a retailer. Please sell some products to me wholesale.
I won't sell my products to any retailers who sell below the price I set.
If a manufacturer or wholesaler forces a retailer to sell a product at a designated price, it is restricting fair competition. The Anti-Monopoly Act prohibits this kind of activity, which is known as resale price restriction. In some cases, an exclusive agent that imports name brand items from abroad may pressure its supplier to stop distributing to a parallel importer who sells the brand at lower prices. Activities that impede fair business dealings between a competitor and a third party are known as interference with a competitor's transactions and are prohibited by law.
You supplied me with products, but they didn't all sell well. Take them back.
Under the Anti-Monopoly Act, businesses in a superior bargaining position are prohibited from engaging in acts to the disadvantage of their transaction partners, including the return of goods due to one-sided reasons of the ordering party, forceful sales, and requests for dispatching employees without incurring the cost. The Subcontract Act, a complementary law to the Anti-Monopoly Act, was created to ensure fair dealings with subcontractors and protect their interests by regulating unjust and harmful subcontracting activities.
You know, this product just isn't selling. Although you've already supplied it,
I want you to discount the supply price. I know you've just made a submission, but it will take us about 3 months to inspect the goods, so you'll have to wait for payment until then.
The Subcontract Act prohibits unjust and unreasonable treatment of subcontractors, including reduced or late payment of subcontract fees, to protect fair subcontracting activities. The Anti-Monopoly Act also prohibits the establishment of cartels and unfair trade practices through the activities of trade associations. In this way, the Japan Fair Trade Commission handles cases that threaten fair and free competition with laws such as the Anti-Monopoly Act. What did you think? As you've just seen, the Anti-Monopoly Act is the fundamental rule that protects fair and free market competition. And now, let's look at the structure of our referee, the Japan Fair Trade Commission, or JFTC. The JFTC consists of a chairman and 4 commissioners, who are appointed by the Prime Minister with the approval of the Diet. It performs its duties independently of other administrative organs. Beneath the Commission is the General Secretariat, which heads multiple sections that present policy proposals and investigates cases. With approximately 800 employees, the JFTC strives to strengthen both its organization and human resources to more effectively fulfill its increasingly important role. But how does the JFTC handle violations of the Anti-Monopoly Act? Let's find out. To protect fair and free market competition within the Japanese economy, the JFTC deals severely with companies that violate the law in accordance with the Anti-Monopoly Act. Let's take a look at various duties performed by the JFTC as we follow the case portrayed in this dramatization. One day, an anonymous caller informs the JFTC that a certain company is involved in bid rigging, a violation of the Anti-Monopoly Act.
Japan Fair Trade Commission. I work at Acme Corporation. My company and one of our rivals are involved in bid rigging. I see. Could you please tell me more about this in detail?
The JFTC gathers information that helps uncover cases of illegal activity through reports such as this one. The JFTC is authorized to conduct 2 different types of investigations: administrative investigations, which involve on-site inspections of companies suspected of illegal acts, and criminal investigations for cases deemed to be criminal in nature. In the case of criminal investigations, a warrant obtained from a judge allows the JFTC to conduct a compulsory investigation involving the search and seizure of property. When the JFTC suspects that a certain company has violated the Anti-Monopoly Act, it launches an investigation. In the case of a criminal investigation, the JFTC searches the company in accordance with a warrant issued by a judge to gather evidence of any illegal activity. Based on search findings, the JFTC may need to seize property and question the involved parties to determine the facts of the case. If through the investigation the activity is deemed malicious and warrants criminal prosecution, the JFTC files a criminal accusation with the Prosecutor General. If the charge is substantiated, the company and the persons responsible for authorizing the activities that violate the Anti-Monopoly Act face criminal penalties, including fines and imprisonment. If an administrative investigation uncovers illegal activity, a hearing is held concerning the content of the proposed punishment for the accused company. Officials listen to the opinions made by the company from a neutral standpoint and make a report to the JFTC. When issuing a cease and desist or other orders, the JFTC is obligated to take this report into consideration. Surcharges may also be imposed in the case of illegal activities such as cartels. The surcharge payment system is an administrative measure that compels a company guilty of participating in illegal activities, such as cartels and bid rigging, to pay a surcharge in addition to stopping all illegal activity. The company must pay the National Treasury an amount calculated based on the rate stipulated in the law. In the event a company repeats or plays a leading role in illegal activity, the surcharge for unreasonable restraint of trade, such as cartels and bid rigging, is an amount calculated by adding 50% of the rate stipulated based on the respective standard. Under what is known as the leniency program, companies that voluntarily report their involvement in illegal activities, such as cartels or bid rigging, to the JFTC may be exempted from paying certain surcharges or granted a certain reduction of surcharges. This system aims to simplify the detection of cartels and bid rigging and restore competition as quickly as possible. In addition, guidelines on administrative investigation procedures under the Anti-Monopoly Act were drawn up in December 2015. The case is investigated after verifying the appropriateness of the procedures. If a company wishes to appeal administrative measures, such as cease and desist and surcharge payment orders, it may submit an appeal to the Tokyo District Court to have the order canceled. The Tokyo District Court will then conduct a hearing and trial with a collegial body made up of 3 or 5 judges. In the event the company files an appeal to the ruling of the first hearing, the Tokyo High Court will conduct a hearing and trial. Victims of Anti-Monopoly Act violations may file civil lawsuits under the Act. Companies and consumers who are likely to suffer significant damage can file a court injunction and demand damages from the injuring party. In particular, if a damage suit is filed after the JFTC orders become final, the company cannot be exempted from its liabilities, regardless of its intent or negligence. In sports, breaking the rules could result in the player being thrown out of the game, being suspended, or being charged a fine. So it makes sense that in the world of business, the JFTC would impose strict penalties on illegal activities. However, the duties of the JFTC include more than investigation and redress of Anti-Monopoly Act violations. It also protects fair and free market competition in a variety of other ways. The JFTC advises companies and organizations with regards to the Anti-Monopoly Act. By carefully considering consultations from a variety of sectors and industries, it provides guidance to prevent illegal activities. Because mergers and other business combinations between large companies could hinder competition, they must submit notifications and reports of such activities to the JFTC for review. In certain cases, the JFTC requests that the company change its plans. To create an environment in which companies can conduct their business without worry, the JFTC creates and publishes guidelines that clearly delineate the types of activities that constitute violations of the Anti-Monopoly Act. In order to protect fair and free market competition, the JFTC is also actively involved in regulatory reform, as it researches and verifies problems in government regulations. In keeping with the globalization of corporate activities, the JFTC is strengthening international partnerships and cooperative relationships through activities such as the active exchange of opinions with similar organizations that monitor and promote market competition abroad. It also handles cases including international corporate mergers and Anti-Monopoly Act violations such as international cartels. The JFTC exchanges opinions with consumer groups and business organizations and takes these into consideration as it enforces the Anti-Monopoly Act and works to plan, propose, and evaluate policies on competition. To strengthen its theoretical framework, the JFTC established the Competition Policy Research Center, or CPRC, which conducts joint research activities with external researchers and hosts seminars and international symposia. As internationalization and informatization sweep the globe, the Japanese economy continues to grow. Companies that support this growth have a significant impact on our daily lives. Never before have words such as fair and free come into as much question as they do in this current age. The Japan Fair Trade Commission affects our lives as it relentlessly protects fair and free competition. Within an increasingly complex economy, its mission and responsibilities become more and more important. But perhaps the most important thing is for us as consumers and corporations to be conscious of the spirit of fair play at the heart of the Anti-Monopoly Act in our day-to-day lives.